Good afternoon and welcome to the Daily News Analysis by Civil Service Institute, Pala. Let's look at the top stories of the day. India fast-tracks 52 satellites for precision surveillance following Operation Sindoor. PM Modi's five-nation tour to focus on defense, Africa outreach, and multilaterals. Coast Guard Cooperation Initiative launched by Quad nations. 683 species added to India's fauna, 433 taxa to its flora during 2024. Japan launches climate satellite on last flight for main rocket. Can a GI tag prevent cultural misappropriation? As GST turns 8, tax experts call for fuel inclusion and fewer rates. We will also be doing a practice MCQ along with a mains practice question. Moving on to the news in detail. In the first article, India fast-tracks 52 satellites for precision surveillance following Operation Sindoor. After defense forces realized the need for more precision surveillance during Operation Sindoor, the Union government has ordered the fast-tracking of the launch of 52 dedicated surveillance satellites, enhancing round-the-clock monitoring of coastline and land borders. In October last year, the Union Cabinet has approved around $3.2 billion for the space-based surveillance program, that is Space-Based Surveillance 3 program, to develop next-generation satellites over the next decade. The Defense Space Agency will oversee the operation of newly launched satellite system. Under the program, ISRO will manufacture and launch the first 21 satellites, while the rest 31 will be manufactured and handled by private companies. The first set of satellites are expected to be launched by 2026. The official added that the new satellites will be using artificial intelligence to make smarter decisions and improve overall performance and efficiency in space. During Operation Sindoor, satellite-based surveillance helped Indian Defense Forces to act swiftly by offering accurate intelligence, including the trajectory and movement of drones and missiles. India's satellites like Cartosat and RESAT helped defense forces to track enemy mobilization, confirm strike impact, and also maintain real-time situational awareness, which prevented many major damages to the country's military assets. After the successful implementation of Space-Based Surveillance 3, India will become more self-reliant and efficient and reduce its dependence on other countries. It will also help in focusing clearly and accurately our neighbors, especially Pakistan and China, and their borders, and also the Indian Ocean region. Moving on to the next news. PM Modi's five-nation tour to focus on defense, Africa outreach, and multilaterals. So, the ongoing five-nation tour will focus on key areas like defense, rare earth minerals, cooperation on counterterrorism, and South-South cooperation. The five nations that our PM will tour include Ghana, Trinidad and Tobago, Argentina, Brazil, and Namibia. With Brazil, we are interested to secure communication systems. Brazil is interested to secure communications from us on the battlefield. Brazil is also interested in offshore patrol vessels, and Brazil has Scorpion submarines. They are interested in partnering with India in maintaining those submarines. Brazil also seems to be interested in Agash air defense system and in coastal surveillance systems. India and Brazil will be also discussing on defense cooperation on the sidelines of BRICS summit. The highlight of the Brazil visit will be PM Modi's participation in the main session of the BRICS summit, which will discuss reform of the global governance. Other items at the summit will be peace and security, environment, COP30, and global health, strengthening multilateralism, economic and financial affairs, and artificial intelligence. There will be special focus on Women's Business Alliance. This will be an added advantage for India since we are going to hold the BRICS chair for the year 2026. Similarly, the last stop in his tour will be Namibia, the African country, where he will also pay tribute to Namibian decolonization icon Sam Nujoma. An agreement on unified payment interoperability is expected to be signed during PM Modi's visit to Namibia. India has a special focus on Africa, keeping in mind key areas like agriculture and building a waxing development hub in West Africa, critical minerals, digital public infrastructure, and renewal of cultural exchange. Moving on to the next news. Here, Coast Guard Cooperation Initiative launched by Quad nations. The Coast Guards of the Quad countries, that is India, Japan, United States, and Australia, have launched the Quad at Sea Ship Observer Mission. Quad at Sea Ship Observer Mission to deepen maritime cooperation in the Indo-Pacific. The Observer at Sea engagement marks a first of its kind initiative among the Quad countries, especially the Indian Coast Guard, Japanese Coast Guard, United States Coast Guard, and the Australian Border Force. Based on the Wilmington Declaration adopted at the Quad Leaders Summit in September 2024, the mission reflects the collective resolve to strengthen a free, inclusive, and rule-based Indo-Pacific. It reinforces joint maritime readiness through enhanced interoperability, domain awareness, and coordination. This is in view to keep Chinese ambitions at bay in the Indo-Pacific. From the environment perspective, this articles become important. 683 species added to India's fauna, along with 433 taxa to its flora. In the year 2024, the country altogether in the country, we added 459 new species and 224 species new records in the fauna section. The maximum number of new discoveries of fauna in 2024 was recorded from the state of Kerala with 101 species, followed by Karnataka. In the east and northeast, Arunachal Pradesh and Meghalaya had the most number of discoveries. Andaman and Nicobar Islands, another biological hotspot in the country, recorded 43 new discoveries of fauna from the region, which included 14 new discoveries of fauna and 29 new records. In terms of plant discoveries also, the highest number of flora was discovered in the state of Kerala. So this highlights Kerala's ecological diversity with the Western Ghats in the region. And Kerala has to. Kerala and all the Western Ghats states has to maintain this ecological diversity in the wake of biodiversity loss. The hotspot regions such as Western Ghats and northeastern regions have contributed 35% of total discoveries. India has recorded and documented 56,000 species of plants, including angiosperms, gymnosperms, pteridophytes, bryophytes, lichens, fungi, and algae. And here, the new terms and names of the new species have been given. Please go through this article and see whether if it's an amphibian, reptile, orchid, etc. That's a homework for you. Japan launches climate satellite on last flight for main rocket. So Japan on Sunday successfully launched a climate change monitoring satellite on its mainstay H2A rocket, which made its final flight before it is replaced by a new flagship designed to be more cost competitive in the global space market. So Sunday's launch marked the 50th and final flight for the H2A, which has served as Japan's mainstay rocket, similarly to our PSLV. Its H-2A rocket was debuted on 2001, and it has a near perfect record since its inaugural flight. After its retirement, it will be fully replaced by the new flagship program rocket called H3, which is already in operation. So the GOSAT-GW, or Global Observing Satellite for Greenhouse Gases and Water Cycle, is a third series in the mission to monitor carbon, methane, and other greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Within 1 year, it will start distributing data such as sea surface temperature and precipitation with much higher resolution to users around the world, including the US National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. So the H-2A rocket was a liquid fuel rocket with 2 solid fuel sub-rockets, and it was developed by Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency and has so far had 49 flights with a 98% success record. And H-2A successfully carried into space many satellites and probes, including Japan's moon lander SLIM last year and the popular 𝗖𝗄𝗄 spacecraft in 2014 to reach a distant asteroid, contributing to the country's space programs. Now, let's look at the new rocket, that is the H3 series. Japan sees a stable, commercially competitive space transport capability as key to its space program and national security, and has been developing 2 new flagship rockets as successors of the H-2A series. The one is the larger H-3 with Mitsubishi, and a much smaller Epsilon system with the aerospace unit of the heavy machinery maker IHI. It hopes to cater to diverse customer needs and improve its position in the growing satellite launch market. The H-3 is designed to carry larger payloads than the H-2A at about half its cost. But officials have said that more cost reduction efforts are needed to achieve better price competitiveness in the global market. The H-3 has made 4 consecutive successful flights after a failed debut attempt in 2023 when the rocket had to be destroyed with its payload. Moving on to the next news. Can a GI tag prevent cultural misappropriation? This article becomes important with the recent controversy regarding the 𝗗𝗶𝗶𝘆. It has been said the Italian fashion brand Prada has used our own 𝗗𝗶𝗶𝘆 in their recent collection. So what is a GI tag? Geographical indication is a form of intellectual property that identifies goods as originating from a specific country, region, or locality where their distinct qualities, characteristics, or reputation are essentially linked to that place of origin. India, as a TRIPS signatory, enacted the Global Geographical Indication of Goods Registration and Protection Act 1999, which came into force in 2003. Indian traditional products have time and again suffered exploitation by global corporations. So this is not the first time, or this is not the first case relating to a GI tag being misused by global giants. For example, earlier basmati rice was embroiled in a GI tag controversy along with turmeric, which is used as a traditional Indian medicine. Similarly, neem-based antifungal formulations, which was used widely for therapeutic purposes in the Indian knowledge systems. All these basmati rice, turmeric, neem, all were exploited by global corporations in the name of GI tag. In India, there are currently 658 registered GI tagged goods. So there are 658 registered GI tags till date. So some of the prominent ones I have given here, like Chanderi saris of Madhya Pradesh, Madhubani painting from Bihar, Pashmina shawls of Jammu and Kashmir, Kanchipuram silk of Tamil Nadu, and Darjeeling tea of West Bengal. In fact, Darjeeling tea was the first to receive GI tag in India. So there are similarly numerous ones. Please go through important ones from your state. At least do know which are the products that have got GI tag in your state. So geographical indication tags serve as a powerful marketing tool, driving rural development, boosting exports, enhancing consumer confidence, and preserving cultural knowledge of local communities, farmers, and indigenous groups. So unlike trademarks, which are owned by enterprises, GI tags are public property belonging to the producers of the concerned goods and cannot be assigned, transmitted, or licensed. So how can this infringement be tackled? The registered proprietor or authorized users may initiate infringement action when an unauthorized user misleads the public about the origin of goods, causes unfair competition, or passing off or falsely represents goods as originating from a GI registered region. However, it is important to note that GI rights are primarily territorial and consequently limited to the country or region where protection is granted. At present, no automatic world or international GI right exists. So there is no global GI tax. There is only country-based or region-based GI tax. Nevertheless, several mechanisms exist for cross-border protection. GIs can be protected internationally by first securing recognition in the country of origin, as many jurisdictions require this as a precondition, and then obtaining protection directly in the jurisdiction concerned. To prevent such cases in the future, what we can do is that we could start expanding the traditional knowledge digital library and include wider traditional grassroots experiences and expressions. And we can also make a searchable database that would allow brands to conduct searches to identify right holder communities for collaboration. Moving on to the next news. As you all know, July 1 marks 8 years of GST, which was implemented by the 101st Constitutional Amendment Act in 2016. So as GST turns 8, tax experts call for fuel inclusion and fewer rates. So we have come to the end of GST phase 1, that is GST 1.0. So the next phase is GST 2.0, and it must focus on 4 priorities. Which are those 4 priorities? First one is expanding the tax base by bringing in sectors like petroleum and electricity under GST. The second is rationalizing the GST rate structure. The third one is minimizing input tax credit restrictions. And the final one is streamlining audits and investigations. Tax experts acknowledge that GST is much simpler than the previous regime, where the sale of the same item could be taxed differently in each state. So the experts have recommended to include petrol, diesel, natural gas, and other petroleum products under GST. Currently, the GST law has a provision for the inclusion of these items, but it requires the GST Council comprising the union and state finance ministers to approve the decision to include them. It would also be essential for the government to address the procedural challenges and high-value litigations on minor issues that are overshadowing the efforts of the government. It is an opportunity to revisit and strengthen the dispute resolution framework under the GST law to enhance efficiency and timely redressal. So an amount of substantial number of cases are currently pending with the absence of a GST appellate tribunal. So it's high time we have a GST appellate tribunal. The third broad suggestion by the tax experts was to reduce the number of tax slabs under GST. So currently there are 5 tax slabs, that is 0%, 5%, 12%, 18%, and 28%. The center also imposes a GST compensation cess on the items in 28% slab. So these slabs are without the special rates of 0.2%, 1%, and 3% on various kinds of gold, silver, and diamonds. So GST has replaced a multiplicity of indirect taxes such as value-added tax, excise duties, and service tax, and has established a unified national market under the One Nation, One Tax framework. So the reform has harmonized tax rates across states, enhanced ease of doing business, and facilitated greater economic integration. On the similar lines, there was also an article in the editorial of the Hindu, which is titled GST Reform and Unfinished Business in Tobacco Control. Please do read that article also. The gist of which is the rate rationalization exercise must address the shortcomings in the taxation of tobacco products, keeping in mind economic and public health outcomes. So now let's do a practice MCQ. The question is, the Financial Stability Report is published by. The Financial Stability Report is a half-yearly publication that is published twice in a year by the Reserve Bank of India. So there was an article in the business section about the Financial Stability Report. It mentioned, despite an uncertain and challenging global economic backdrop, the Indian economy remains a key driver of global growth, underpinned by sound macroeconomic fundamentals and prudent macroeconomic policies. The Reserve Bank of India said in its half-yearly publication, the Financial Stability Report. The resilience of the domestic financial system is continuously improving, and it's being supported by strong capital buffers and also low non-performing assets and robust profitability. As per the Financial Stability Report, financial conditions have eased, supported by an accommodative monetary policy and low volatility in the financial markets. The strength of the corporate balance sheets also lends support to overall macroeconomic stability. Now let's do a mains practice question. So here the question is, India's rollout of GST has heralded a paradigm shift in taxation structure, but it has been marred down with uncertainties, downgrading its effectiveness. So since we celebrate the 8th anniversary of GST, let's do a question on GST. So in the introduction, you can mention about the One Nation, One Tax framework, and also the 101st Constitutional Amendment Act of 2016, which brought GST, which has streamlined earlier fragmented and complex system. GST has replaced a multiplicity of indirect taxes, such as VAT tax, excise, duties, and service taxes, establishing a unified national market. And coming to the body, you can divide the body into two parts. First one, you can mention about the positives, the promises and significance of GST structure, like simplification and unification. GST has replaced multiple indirect taxes and also promoting ease of doing business. It has encouraged investments and promoted economic growth in the market. And it is an example of cooperative federalism. It is a testament to fiscal federalism. It is based on consensus structure between center and state governments, which have been working together on critical legal issues together. And it has also enlarged the tax base. GST has reduced overall indirect tax burden on consumers and made Indian products more competitive in the international markets. This has become a phenomenal enlargement of tax base, which led to increased revenue collection. And also it has eliminated the cascading effect of tax, that is, tax on tax was eliminated. Digitization and compliance. So since the automation of tax compliances was introduced with the one-stop portal of GST network, it has been made easier for the taxpayers. Now coming to the challenges and glitches with the GST. First is the multiple tax slabs. We have already seen there is currently 5 tax slabs along with the 3 additional ones. So it's a burden. And along with the compliance burden, MSMEs have to file multiple returns adhering to various rules and regulations. So it is a burden for them. Interstate transaction issues. So there is still complexities with the multiple tax authorities and dual control between center and state tax authorities. So it has also increased burden on the taxpayers. Now, anti-profiteering measures, it was aimed to ensure that businesses pass on the benefits of reduced tax rates to consumers, but it hasn't been a reality yet. Input tax credit mismatch. The ITC mechanism allows businesses to set off taxes paid on inputs against their output liability, but it has faced issues with reconciliation and other technological issues. And evasion and fraud still persists in GST. All these has to be addressed in order to make it more effective. So what is the way forward? Way forward is the creation of GST appellate tribunal, revision of tax rates, streamlining audits and investigations, expanding tax base, and minimizing input tax credit restrictions, etc. And in the conclusion, you can also mention that its effectiveness has been marred by several glitches and challenges, but despite these issues, GST represents a transformative change in India's taxation structure and has the potential to drive economic growth and simplify the tax regime further. With this, we come to an end of the session. Thank you. Have a nice day.